I'm a 32-year-old female, and my husband's a 29-year-old male. We've been married for a couple of years. Like any married couple, we have had our problems, but neither of us had been unfaithful until recently. And the person who's in the middle of all this is my own mother, 48 female. It's better to call her my egg donor because she's never been there for me like a mother should. She treats me like I'm her competition. My mother got pregnant when she was only 16 and still in high school. My grandmother, who I'm much closer to than my mom, said that she was always a wild child and loved men. A lot. My grandmother raised me most of the time, and I barely saw my father, who was a good guy. During the years, she continued to have multiple boyfriends, at the same time by the way, and she fell pregnant a total of 4 times after me. She did return to my father, however, and they were with each other for 15 years. But her behavior never stopped. They split up multiple times because she was always cheating. I'm the only one who is my father's child. The rest all have different dads. I do not know why my dad kept up with her behavior and kept on going back to her, but he did. Not only that, but he also provided for all my siblings and worked hard for all of us. Because of him, my mother was able to finish school and further her education so that she could find a well-paying job. My parents did the on and off thing for years until I eventually moved out and finished high school. My relationship with my mother is very messed up. As soon as I hit puberty, she tried to turn me into her. She would give me bad advice on relationships, telling me that the most important thing was money. Not only that, but she would also openly bash my father for not being man enough, sometimes in a joking manner. I was very desperate as a child, and I wanted her to love me a lot. This is why I did not say anything when I saw guys picking her up. She would tell me it was just some old friend from school, and I believed her. When she was out cheating, I had to take care of my 4 siblings for varying ages. According to her, 2 of them were my father's kids, but we later found out she was lying about that. But that'll come on a bit later. My relationship with her changed when I started getting older and, quote, prettier. She felt as if she had to compete with me. This was the time I started getting better friends and started thinking for myself. It was around this time that my relationship with my father got better. He was a gentleman who did not like fighting and blindly loved my mom. The whole world knew that she cheated on him, but he stupidly believed her. I know some of you will say that he was a spineless man, but truly, he was just too good for his own good. Things reached a breaking point when I was in college, and my dad called to let me know that he was leaving her. I was so very happy for him and thought that now he would have a chance to find someone who would treat him better. But unfortunately, I was wrong. By this time, my mother was getting old, and many people knew of her reputation. Her looks were fading mainly because of her previous lifestyle choices, and she seemed to become a changed person. As the eldest, they told me that they were getting back together, and my mother promised that she's changed. Her personality took a complete 180. She stopped cheating on my father. She was now the doting wife and good mother to the siblings, and no one thought she was cheating. But this was almost too good to be true. Our relationship did remain damaged. She still saw me as her competition and took every opportunity to criticize me. Whether it was my grades, my friends, heck, even the men I dated. There was always something wrong. I met Ken when I was in my final year of college. He was a very intelligent guy with good manners and very easy on the eyes. The relationship got more serious as the years passed, and we got to the point of meeting each other's family. His family was so nice, and I got along with his parents. His mother was a bit overprotective of him, but we respected each other. When my mother first met him, he was the first boyfriend of mine that she actually liked. I'd warned him about her catty behavior, but he only had good things to say after meeting her. It was such a relief. Not because I cared what she thought, but because I did not want my fiancé at the time to have to deal with the family drama. We ended up getting married a few months after that, and we were happy for a long time. I rarely visit my parents' house. It was mostly to see my father when I did. But when I did with my husband, he was always hanging out with my mom. I did not like it. One time, he even suggested I should fix things with her because he felt I was being a bit too harsh on her. The fighting and the arguing began there. Every time we saw my mother, there would be a stupid argument afterward. He was still good to me, and we did have our good times. It was just the friendship with my mother that seemed to rub me the wrong way. One time, I overheard a conversation that I wish I had not. It was at a family gathering at my grandma's house. I like my grandma, and I was there only because of her. I also brought Ken with me. I was passing by the living room from the kitchen when I heard my mother telling Ken that he was handsome. I admit I was mad because I knew about her past. Then she said that he was surprised he had not married some supermodel and he deserved better than me. I walked away, wondering what she meant by that. I did not even wait to hear my husband's response. I decided I was going to give him the silent treatment for the whole week. He asked me what I was mad about nearly 3 days of no talking. I asked him if he thought that marrying me was a mistake. He said no. He buttered me up and I forgot the whole incident like the fool I was. Not long after that, I noticed that my man was starting to act strange. More than once. He came home late without an explanation. When I asked him about it, he got mad and said that of course he had to work to take care of us. Never in our marriage had my husband put the fact that he earned more than me in an argument. The only reason I was not working was that I was taking care of our son, who was just a few months old. He did not even look at me anymore and spent most of his time on his phone. I still had some weight that I did not lose post-pregnancy, which my mom had made comments about more than once. So I thought he was not attracted to me anymore. Believe me, I tried to get my husband's attention, but he just did not have any time for it. His phone was always locked, but one day I asked to use it because mine was giving me problems. I wanted to order something for the baby. While I was doing the shopping, suddenly someone called on his phone, and they were saved as Brandy. I did not think anything of it and gave him the phone. But the look on his face when I did made me very suspicious. And then he left the room to answer the phone. When he got back, I asked who Brandy was, and I got pretty upset. Then he tried to mansplain the situation to me and also tell me I was stressed because of motherhood. I got very angry with him, even though he kept on saying that Brandy was a colleague. He could very well have been cheating with that said colleague. I dropped the topic because I knew that he would just make something up and make me think I was being stupid again. Well, he thought that I dropped it, but I needed and wanted to find this Brandy. When he was sleeping, I went to his phone once again, used his fingerprint when he was asleep, and started looking for Brandy. There were messages where they were promising to meet and confessing their love. I went to the call log. There was over 5 calls from Brandy on that day alone. I had proof, but I needed to see her. I took Brandy's full name, which had he stupidly saved under, and I did what we women do best: investigate. Brandy was like a supermodel, young, blonde, and working at my mother's company. Things did not add up. The past taught me that where my mother was involved, there was a fire. I went to sleep very angry, confused, and depressed that night. My son was sleeping in the same room as us, and he was a light sleeper. If that was not the case, I would have woken up to the man and confronted him. The next morning, I asked him once again who Brandy was. He started the whole thing of me being insecure, but I had one up on him. I told him I talked to Brandy and she told me everything. And then he confessed. He said he was sorry, but he had cheated on me. I asked him, how long has this been going on? 7 months. Ever since I gave birth to our son Jaden. I asked the one question that had been giving me sleepless nights. Why had he done it? He said that he felt younger with her, and I was constantly boring him with stuff about the baby. Then this man, who was given birth to by a woman, said something about my post-pregnancy weight that I've been struggling to get rid of. Guys, be careful who you marry. You might end up in the same situation as me. Of course, I was mad at him and told him everything that was in my heart. I left him sitting there, took my babies, and left him with Samantha, a lady who ran a daycare nearby where I was planning to leave Jaden once I started working. After that, I made my way over to my mother's workplace. I saw Brandy, who had been sleeping with my man, and right there in front of everybody, I caused a scene. I was a tired woman who barely got any sleep because of her baby and had just been cheated on, so you can only imagine how upset I was. Brandy tried to act all stupid and say that he was not married, but I was not having it and caused this scene right then and there. Then my mom, whom I had not seen in a while, decided to show up and ask what's going on. Brandy started asking her why the man she set her up with had a wife. Ha! Now everything made so much sense. I saw everything clearly enough to do what I've been wanting to do my all life. I slapped my mom, then left the office. I called the only person who I felt still had my back, my dad. He was still the same kind of hardworking man who had always been there caring for me, and the only person who had not disappointed me thus far. When I went to his house, I was surprised to find the whole house a mess, and my father was very drunk. My father drank the occasional beer, but he never got wasted. I knew that she had cheated again. The signs were there. I asked where my youngest sibling was, and he said that he was with the grandma. And then my dad told me something I was not prepared for. My mother had been secretly sleeping with my father's best friend for 8 years, and the 2 youngest kids were his best friends. This meant that all my siblings were just half-siblings. My brother and sister, after me, each had their own dad, which everyone knew, but yeah, he said that he's had enough of her. She was always saying that he was the love of her life, and no one meant anything to her, but she just kept continuing cheating. Less publicly since I was in college, though. My guess had to do with the fact that she was getting older, and she knew she would be able to rely on my dad. To be honest, I cannot with this woman. Just when I think she's done lying, more stuff is uncovered about her. Like, how did I get stuck with a mother like this? I told my dad how she had set up my husband with her colleague so he could cheat on me. He was so upset. He was very protective of me and was the reason I turned out fine. If anyone hurt me, they would have hell to pay. He was already filing for divorce papers, luckily for him. He had lots of proof of her cheating. And as for me, I could not forgive my husband. His defense was that she fed him lies about me and she introduced Brandy to him. And excuse my French, but I told him he's a grown-ass man and could think for himself that he had a wife and child who needed his support. I warned him so many times to stay away from her, but it was like I was the fool. I kicked him out of the house when I got home and started filing divorce. He's fooled me once, but he was not going to do it ever again. Remember how I said that his mom was always overprotective of him? Well, she harassed me over leaving her son and threatened to take my son away from me. She said that she never liked me because I was not good enough for her son, and I was older than him. All along, she had been acting nice to fool her son, but now the whole family was attacking me. My siblings were very torn on the whole issue. Dawn, who is 2 years younger than me and adores my mom, took her side. Corey, who's the youngest at 7, was innocent in all these things, and she was staying with Grandma. My grandmother was very upset with my mom and wanted to get custody of my 2 youngest siblings. So then, in a very messed up double divorce, here's what happened. My mother's been cheating on my dad for several years, stayed in his house, let him pay her bills, and made him father her own children. And with the proof of what she did to me, it was game over for her. My grandma got custody of the 2 youngest, and my mom could only see the kids with her permission. She also had to pay a very large settlement fee to my father, which left her pretty much broke. She was nearly fired from her job because of my and Brandy's fight, but she got to keep it. She only has such a nice job because my father got her through school by working multiple jobs. After all, he did love her. I can never understand the power she used to have on my dad, but I hope he never has to deal with someone like that again. Even though they wanted to take my Jaden away and leave me with nothing. Once I presented the evidence in court that he was cheating on me and that I quit my job to take care of his son, everything went in my favor. I got full custody of my son, and Ken has to pay child support. He also must support me until I get back to work, and I get to keep the apartment. My divorce along with my father's got finalized at the same time. Now, I'm a free woman, and I'm focusing on my son before going back to work in a few months. My dad used the settlement money to start his small business, and has not dated since my mom. We, my younger brother Brandon and I, have been encouraging him to start dating again, but we do understand that he's healing. The woman who gave birth to me walked away with nothing. Despite her many lies in court, she only got a little amount in settlement from my dad, and she had to pay him much, much more. When I see her, I look the other way, because, well, I no longer consider her to be my mother. The only good thing she did for me was to bring me into this world. Ken, on the other hand, comes to see his son occasionally. Even though I did not want him to have a relationship with Jaden, I put my feelings aside because he deserves a chance to know his dad. I'll say this again. Be careful who you marry, because my father and I both learned the hard way. When I, 28 female, was 18, I had to give birth to my daughter Farah. No choice for me. I wanted to give her up for adoption, but Dave, her dad, was able to take her. In exchange for giving him full custody, we settled on me not paying any child support. I did not give up my parental rights. I thought I did what was best for me at the time. It let me focus on getting my degree, having fun, and starting my own business, which was becoming wildly successful. When not studying or working or clubbing, however, I was very depressed and wound up torpedoing every relationship I was in. And it's all because I regretted my decision. Last year, my dad died and I inherited almost everything. This has pushed my personal wealth into 8 figures when you add up property and stuff. It just made me more depressed because I never got to fix things with my dad. And it's like I have all this, but for what? So, I finally decided to be brave, reaching out to Dave because maybe, if I could just have Farah in my life, I could be happy. Dave set up a meeting last year, and as soon as Farah saw me, she rushed at me and hugged me and called me mommy. It was amazing, and I honestly started crying. It's been so great since then getting to know her, pick her up from school, hear about her day, help with homework, and get to hug and kiss her. Even getting yelled at by her when she's upset is something I would never give up. And I hate that I wasn't part of this before. It's like I have a real purpose and all this money finally means something. I don't try and flex my wealth on Dave or his wife Lydia, but they've made remarks about how cool Farah thinks my car is, or how I have a cleaning lady. But I never bought anything for her without clearing with them first. In exchange for a visitation, I've paid back child support and I'm paying it now to have her in my life. We currently have a meeting to restructure the custody agreement so I can get her on weekends. Yesterday was Farah's birthday and the party is on Saturday. But as a surprise, I got her one of those toy Jeeps that kids ride around in the block, and full street hockey setup, and those are the first gifts I did not clear. She loved those so much, but Dave and Lydia got upset. But I was like, if we're restructuring the custody, I should not need approval to buy things. Lydia points out how expensive it all was and called me an a-hole for using my money to win Farah's love, instead of putting in hard work like she has. Which she has been troubling me, and maybe I've been like that, so I'm here to get an anonymous judgment.